What's up, guys, in the works, and welcome to some Rush Defense. Yes, a rare treat, I know. A lot of you guys actually like it when I post some Rush Defense. At times it can be boring, but I'm actually playing with a full squad. So I got some good guys in here that know what they're doing, and we actually have a pretty good and pretty quick Rush Defense here on some Aftermath, because I've been playing a lot of Aftermath lately. I've been using a lot of the support weapons, and again, I'm using the M27. I used this in one of my past Battlefield 3 videos where I talked about the flash suppressor, so I won't really get in depth on the weapon itself. I've done a few videos on it, so go check that out. We're going to talk about something more important. We're going to talk about Commander Mode. Commander Mode is something that has been rumored to be in Battlefield 4. I've speculated on Commander Mode in some of my past Battlefield 4 info videos, whether or not, it's going to return, but there's been a kind of a leak talking about this GameStop poster that essentially confirms that Commander Mode will be a new feature in Battlefield 4. Now, you got to take this with a huge grain of salt because it's not confirmed, it's not authentic, but a lot of the GameStop promo leaks that we saw early on actually came out to be true. Now, one of the biggest criticisms to this particular leak is that it's actually printed on inkjet paper, but I highly doubt the guy who actually made it went out of his way to make a fake news rumor just to get people excited. But stranger things have been done. But like I said, you gotta think about this with a skeptical mind. But that's not what we're going to talk about, because it doesn't matter if Commander is going to be in Battlefield 4 or not, because we're going to talk about whether or not it should be in Battlefield 4. Now, I've been playing Battlefield games for what seems like forever. I played a lot of Battlefield 2 and 2142. Those were my bread and butters. I did play a little bit of 1942, but not as much as the ones I just mentioned, because those were mostly when I was in my gaming prime. But Commander was something that was big to Battlefield 2 and 2142. It was the thing that basically was the RTS in the sky. You basically commanded the battlefield for your side. You could pick where you wanted to drop certain things. You had a bird's eye view of what was going on in the battlefield, and it kind of separated Battlefield games from your normal first-person shooter. And it was cool. I enjoyed playing like that. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I was actually kind of disappointed to see that it wasn't going to be in Battlefield 3. And a lot of people in the community kind of chalk that up to Battlefield 3 being a rush game, Battlefield 3, just being a lazy, get it out there to compete with Call of Duty game. But I don't really see it like that. One of the big things in Battlefield 3 was the trolling mechanic. A lot of people like to, quote, troll people, using C4, using various things to just basically grief their teammates. And one of the things that I was thinking about is whether or not Commander could actually work in the modern Battlefield games. Because we do have a lot of substitutes. I personally really want it to return, but that may be the nostalgia getting the best of me. That may be my old attachments to that particular portion of the game getting the best of me. I think about it and I'm like, can today's community actually get by having a feature like that in the game? Because you could drop ammo crates on people and kill them. You can drop tanks on people and kill them. You can move tanks from point A to point B. Something, who knows what they go, what avenue they take with that. So I think in order for Commander to work properly in a modern Battlefield game, there will have to be protection from that, because spawn killing, grief killing, that's a big deal. I mean, it can get really annoying. I know trolling is really popular on YouTube, and I think Commander would probably take that to a whole new level, and that may be an understatement. I think that the Commander mode could open a lot of new avenues for people who like to do those funny type videos. Now, I'm not saying those videos are bad. They're fun to watch. Heck, I enjoy watching them. But I'm guessing the people that fall victim to stuff like that aren't really having that good of a time. That's just me guessing. So I could imagine if Commander was a big portion of Battlefield 4, that perhaps, some outlets would have to be restricted in comparison to how they once were. I know a lot of the funny things that people used to like to do back in the old days is if there was a sniper that was just camping in the back, the commander could call in some artillery on him and grief that sniper. And it was pretty funny. I must admit, it was funny at the time, but I bet if you were that sniper, you wouldn't be laughing very hard. And that's one of the concerns I have. I mean, even back in Battlefield 2 and 2142, griefing your team was a big deal, and a lot of servers had protection for that. But if you were just playing on a default server, there's not a lot of things that can protect you for something like that for happening. And I have a feeling that in Battlefield 3, if they would have included Commander, there would have been a lot of griefing like that. I think a lot of people would have been upset. But that's one of the challenges to including this mode into Battlefield 4. And if the rumors turn out to be true, it looks like we may be getting it back in some capacity. If I was a guessing man, I would say it'd be much more limited than the Battlefield 2 or 2142 Commander, just due to the fact that a lot of the things the Commander used to do, you can already do as a player. You can put ammo down, you can Let's say with the MAV, you can basically do reconnaissance, which was a big portion. The UAV sweeps in Battlefield 2, that was a big portion of the commander. And now you've got the MAV, which is a little bit more effective just because you basically have unlimited reconnaissance. So there's a lot of things that are kind of outdated that the commander did. And I think there's going to be a lot of challenges into including it in the game. And I'm actually kind of excited for it. I like to play the devil's advocate. I like to look at some of the strengths of a commander in the modern setting and some of the weaknesses we might face. Hopefully maybe someone from DICE hears this and kind of integrates that into their decision on how they're going to include it in the game. But I'm actually very hopeful that it does make a return. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you be excited to see Commander make a return? And this was a pretty good defensive round. Pretty action-packed for the most part for a defense. Usually defense can get a little bit slow. But like I said, I had a pretty good squad. But if you missed my past videos, here's a chance to catch up. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.